Hello, everybody. Welcome to Youth Branding Talk concert again. So nice to meet all of you. We've got very familiar faces and some new faces around. You've heard a little mic test just now. We've got Cheryl as a guest today again. Do you remember her from yesterday? She's you know what? Maybe I'll leave her to do self-introduction again. Maybe just for the people who are new here. Cheryl, could we trouble you to do some self-introduction?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. 안녕하세요. My name is Cheryl. I am a Singaporean. I'm 25 years old this year. I grew up in Singapore. I am a filmmaker. I recently made a short film that premiered at the Mental Health Film Festival Singapore, and it won the Special Mention Award as well as the Audience Choice Award. I studied at the National University of Singapore. I majored in history and I minored in film studies.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Yes, this is our Youth Branding Talk concert, very special guest that we have. And if you actually follow our Instagram at Youth Branding Festival, I believe, and then you would see what this entire show is all about. With all of these people from around the world, sometimes we see on TV, sometimes we see on YouTube, but we don't get the most detailed, the most candid, and the hidden treasures of each country. But over here at Youth Branding Talk concert, even though it's on Metaverse, but it's a place where we can connect with each other all around the world. And I think that's why all of you are here. So nice to meet all of you. I'm the host for the show. I am Winnie. And today, like what Cheryl has introduced, she is the guest, a very special guest of our show, and this entire show will be done in English. So if there's any difficulties that you have and you need to ask anything, feel free to type in the chat. But just one thing, we want to seek your cooperation, which is to keep yourself muted throughout the entire show. And if there's anything you want to communicate it through your emoticons or communicate through the chat, and we'll really appreciate that. All right, without further ado, let me just introduce this entire episode again. The series that we have, it's divided into 3 different cities for now. So in the first season, which is in February, we have our friends from Singapore. So we've got Ryan in the first part there as a guest, and then now we've got Cheryl together with us. But after that, we're going to move on to Canada, and we're going to move on to China as well. So hope you can continue to be with us. But Cheryl, maybe before this, we can invite you to come to the stage together with me. I just realized we're getting a bit too comfortable in our seats, huh? No, you're going too far. Okay. All right. Yeah, nice to see all of you. Can we maybe wave to each other and say hi? Shall we say hi to each other? All right, we've got a very great audience. Wow, we've got a heart given in. All right, so like I said, we're going to go into different countries and we're going to find the most interesting things, and you guys also are invited to come and ask anything through the chat. So today, we're actually in our unfortunately last episode of the Singapore edition, and together with Cheryl, we're going to explore a lot of interesting issues about Singapore. So let us begin with the first question. 첫 번째 질문 띄워주세요. Right. Question 1 that we have. If you're wondering where we got all these questions from, when we talk about issues, there are certain ideas that we have about issues in different countries. As a Singaporean myself, when we talk about issues, we often talk about the news. So this is one of the things that maybe some of you are pretty familiar with, and I know a lot of you guys are from South Korea. So really nice to meet you. First question that we have, changes in occupations in a smart city. All right. This is a very big topic, but perhaps to break this down a little bit, we want to find out what a smart city is. So Cheryl, being in Singapore, which I know is a smart city, what is your interpretation of a smart city? What do you know about being a smart city?
Yeah, smart city. I mean, this whole idea that a very strong reliance on technology. I mean, if you just go around Singapore, you go on buses or on trains, everyone's heads are down. And it's not because they're praying, it's because they're looking at their mobile devices. Yeah, we rely very heavily on technology also. In supermarkets and stuff, we have self-checkout counters. In schools also, a lot of them are using iPads and computers, even in primary school sometimes. Yeah, and there's just a very, very strong reliance on technology. Yeah, and we're a very, very small country, so I mean, to get connection-wise, Wi-Fi connection is not very difficult. Yeah, you can go anywhere and you can connect to Wi-Fi and your data signal is strong. Yeah, so it's I would say it makes us a very global city, a very modern city. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think that's a very, very down-to-earth interpretation that we all have. We do experience all of this, right? Like what Cheryl said, we're hanging our heads down on the train, not because they're praying. maybe some of them are praying, on their phones. Yeah. Yeah. So how many of you also experience the same thing? I think in a lot of countries today, we're getting smarter and smarter with technology helping us. But let me just share with you this because obviously as a host site, we kind of have to do some research before we start. So there's actually a ranking that we are pretty familiar with, a smart city ranking. There used to be like other things like sustainable city rankings, but recently there has been, in the recent few years, there's been the smart city ranking. And the reason why it's here today is because smart city ranking number 1 is actually Singapore. So do you agree with that, Cheryl, as like living in Singapore for so many years of your life?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I would definitely agree. We're one of the most, I wouldn't say technologically advanced, but we are definitely one of the most technologically reliant nations in the world. We rely on it a lot, for education, for entertainment. Even like the government is using it a lot to collect data and to just do research. And yeah, I don't think a single one of us could live without it. Yeah, so I'd definitely say we rank quite high. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think somebody in the audience actually asked, what about Korea? I think that's your question, isn't it? If I were to continue to add on to the list, number 1 is Singapore. And the reason in this place where I got the source from is because Singapore actually uses robotics and AI-powered chatbots to talk to elderly to provide relevant information and reduce loneliness. Digitalizing healthcare system. It allows for telehealth video consultations. I think not just that, right? If you experience it like in banks also, like they use this telecommunicating system. So actually, when we talk about AI-powered chatbots, I think that's something that has been very popular recently. Have all of you guys heard about ChatGPT? You have heard about it, didn't you, Cheryl?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what's ChatGPT in Singapore going on together? Like, you can share with me.
It's really very, very prevalent in school. I know a lot of my friends and a lot of my younger friends especially, they're using it to help them with their essays, to help their research, and some of my working adult friends are using it a lot also. One of my friends is a teacher, and he uses ChatGPT a lot to help him plan his lessons. He uses it as a tool, so he's still the one that he still does some planning, but ChatGPT is just amazing. It's like a more advanced version of Google, and its ability to just gather so much information and put it together to craft something. I think it's really very, very powerful. Yeah.
I think some of us in the audience actually don't really know what ChatGPT is all about. So is there like, how do you use it? Like maybe you can give us step by step. A little bit more. Yeah.
It's I personally actually have never used it, but I have seen people use it. It is essentially it's a software. It really does function like Google, where you just type in, let's say, I want an essay about the economic success of Singapore, and it will write a whole essay for me, and it will be an essay that is original. It wouldn't give me something that someone had previously written. The entire essay that this software churns out, it will be original. Even though some of the points could be from other papers and stuff, but it's kind of like if ChatGPT was a university student, he would probably be the top student in the university, because the essay, the quality of the stuff that they churn out, it is really, really very, it is really very well done. Yeah, I have to say.
Yeah, actually, I am not like super well versed with it too, but because we can share with other people. We're actually preparing a book on it, and then definitely do check out the book afterwards. But as I was like reading through the articles from Straits Times, which is, by the way, one of the most apparently reliable news resource provider in Singapore, they said that when they took PSLE, which is primary 6 leaving examination, they actually only scored 16. ChatGPT only scored 16 marks.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. So it's
quite hilarious.
Yeah, it's really smart at the same time. And I remember, so actually Cheryl and I were actually in a project together where it's a project collaboration between Singapore and South Korea, City Worship Project. Please go to YouTube and check that out. Just type in City Worship Project and you probably can find something Singapore cross Seoul over there. So do check that out, what we're doing, which is something really cool. We were talking about it yesterday, in fact, and she was even saying, because we're both actually Christians, and then she was saying she found a sermon on ChatGPT and it was pretty decent. Can you share with us that funny episode that you had?
I didn't find a sermon, actually. It was my friend who was a pastor, and he decided to just try it out because everyone in his church, the young ones especially, they were using it a lot. And he didn't want to be a boomer, so he wanted to fit in. So he decided to just try out this software. And he, being a pastor, he just asked ChatGPT to give him a very simple sermon. He typed in a Bible passage and asked the software for a sermon, and it managed to produce quite a decent sermon. So that was very, very interesting.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. So I think with all of this being a smart city, I think I was talking about not just that, but the ranking I was going on, and I got carried away, right? One of the audience member actually asked about Korea. I'm so sorry. This is actually a 2022 ranking in about November-December period, and all the rest of the countries are all the Nordic countries, so we actually haven't had South Korea on the list, but who knows about 2023, right? Because someone in the chat said that ChatGPT is being used in South Korea too. Yeah, it's a smart city. Okay, maybe we'll move on to the next question. Very fun issue that we have, right? We're going all the way from smart city to now job-seeking problems, which is actually connected to our topic just now. It wasn't just about the smart city itself, but it was about occupations being lost or being gained because of this technology. So maybe, Cheryl, have you been seeing a lot of these kind of problems, and what kind of problems are Singapore experiencing because of technology?
I think the problem, it's not a very general problem. I mean, with technology, it has replaced a lot of human labor in a sense where now there are lesser cash registers needed. In terms of very easy, mundane things like storing things or labeling things in supermarkets, or even just working at a cash register. These jobs have been replaced by technology. So in my case, I haven't really seen anyone lose their job because of technology, but it's a more larger shift towards pushing people to really upgrade their skills so that they can find jobs that are less have less to do with, let's say simple tasks like storing things or cash registers, and they have pushed especially the older people to pick up new skills and also to learn how to use technology. But in terms of seeking jobs and how technology has changed it, there's the demand for jobs that are related to technology, related to business, or to science and tech. It will always be there, and that's quite popular in Singapore. Like, these are the kinds of jobs that are very appealing because these are the jobs that pay well, as compared to, let's say, being a musician or an artist, or where I think it might differ in Korea, but in Singapore our jobs are very they focus a lot on business, on technology, on advancement, and on progress, on trade, on science. Yeah, so all these and technology has helped to improve and make it a very exciting field. So in terms of jobs, a lot of young people are moving towards these fields. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Personally, though, I would like to say typical Singaporean youth. Cheryl has shared that she was in National University of Singapore, and then she's graduated just a few years ago. But I think one of these main target audience for this question specifically is for the ones who just came out of university, of colleges, and they want to find a job. But you see so many things, and now no longer like the past. They needed a large labor pool, but now it's just about who can use certain machines better, right? So as one of those people, do you stand for these AI developments, or are you a little bit more towards against side of it?
I need to be very candid and honest. I don't really feel like I can have a position at the moment because there's really so much about AI that I don't know. It's really, AI, it is part of the fifth industrial revolution. We are currently in it, It's not just about Wi-Fi being everywhere, accessible and stuff. It is really about artificial intelligence and, moving ahead to the next step, if you want to call it. And personally, where I'm at currently is that I'm a bit more wary, I guess, when it comes to how we use AI, because I have seen how AI can completely take over a person's. It basically reduces the workload that a person has to do in terms of thinking and reasoning and coming up with solutions and stuff. AI has replaced a lot of that, and I'm a bit wary because it can breed a kind of laziness in people if we rely on it too much. But then again, if we know how to balance our usage of it and still maintain our own critical thinking skills and our own creativity skills, then I think I can view it more optimistically.
Yeah, I think maybe just to give a little background for those who didn't come for today's session, Cheryl is actually a filmmaker, like what she shared in the beginning of this show too, actually. And just for a little bit about Singapore context, arts and culture isn't something that Singapore often go towards. Like what Cheryl has shared, it's about science and technology, it's about the business side, but we're not saying this is a negative light. It's definitely somewhere that you should experience and you should come and work too, which actually leads to our next question. Next question is actually another very interesting phenomenon in Singapore, and we're actually looking at the pros and cons of living in Singapore. Right, what are the good and the bad things of living in Singapore? We shared a little bit just now about maybe the lack of arts and media and culture, or maybe the good side. Maybe you guys are in for science and technology and you want to find out about Singapore. So maybe let's have Cheryl share her most candid as a Singaporean perspective, and then I'll throw a little bit about what the other people around the world say. Yeah.
For me personally, I'll start with the cons, I guess, because they're more painful to talk about. First, the one at the top is definitely it's very, very expensive to live here in Singapore. Our cost of living is one of the highest, if not the highest in the world at the moment. And it's just getting a lot more expensive to settle down. I mean, I have a lot of friends who have recently gotten married. Some of them are planning to get married this year and next year, and they are finding houses and they are looking at flats. They are thinking about renting and how to pay for it, and it's really, really very expensive to live here. That would be definitely one of the cons. But then one of the pros, I guess, is that we are relatively, I would say, a lot more as a city, as a nation. We are quite clean. I would like to think that we are generally cleaner than other cities and also a lot more safer. Mostly due to the fact that we have we have security cameras everywhere in Singapore. If you come here and if you realize, there are literally security cameras everywhere. So I guess crime rates are generally low. So for me, I think that's one aspect that I'm very happy about, I guess, that it's relatively safer here and cleaner here in Singapore as compared to other countries.
Alright, Cheryl has shared very safely as well about she is very wise to start with the cons. This is when you actually invite a Singaporean guest on to share about Singapore most candid. But don't worry, we are still giving you the most honest and candid responses that we have. I think another misconception, or rather, I have no idea why people say this, but one of the, you could see it's a pro and a con at the same time of living in Singapore is you need to speak a lot of languages. Is that true?
I mean, it depends on what you live here for. Everyday conversation. I mean, if you're talking about working, we rely on English. But then most of the time, I mean, okay, this is very personally speaking. So I'm Chinese. Both my parents are Chinese. My grandfather, he came to Singapore from China. And he's a Hainanese, but my Chinese isn't very good, sadly. Even though in our schools, it is a requirement that we study English and our mother tongue. So why I say mother tongue and not Chinese is because we have, multiple races here. So, I mean, if you were a Malay, then your mother tongue would be Malay. If you're an Indian, then you would learn, Hindi on top of, Hindi or Tamil on top of English. So, in terms of, education in schools, they require us to be bilingual. But, the importance of learning new languages, I've been realizing how important it is as I grow older, I guess, because, just talking to old people in Singapore, most of them, they don't really speak English. The older generation. So it's been very difficult to communicate with them. Even my own grandma, unfortunately, that's something that I feel it's very regrettable. I can't even communicate well with my own grandmother. She doesn't speak English, and I'm very, very, I do try, but I'm just very, very bad at Chinese. So that has resulted in us not being able to talk as easily. We do still talk and we do try to communicate with each other, but because there is a very huge language gap between the current generations and the older generations. So unfortunately, I would still say that being bilingual, at least knowing your mother tongue, is very, very important. For me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the reason why a lot of people are overseas, and for me, living in Korea, people do ask, if you live in Singapore, do you speak in Chinese with people? Why are you so good at English? And it gets me speechless a lot of times. Yeah, but like what Cheryl has shared, that's actually the most accurate representation of Singapore. So the quick answer is you don't have to be super good at English. You just you don't have to speak a lot of languages, but you just gotta be fluent in English. I think it's true, it's the lingua franca around the world, isn't it? Yeah, but for a lot of the people who do want to go into Singapore with the high cost of living and all that, in fact, I think someone just shared Orange. This guy, he's very smart, isn't he? He saw news, it was top expensive New York. So I think he's talking about the cost of living, and the news article that we had, I think last year, about the cost of living with Singapore and New York, it was indeed the top, and you are correct. But to combat all of these problems, right, and having to speak English as a foreigner in Singapore, sometimes it gets really difficult. So why not? You can try out flippinworld.com. It's currently a language exchange software that you can find people from all around the world, just like Iprand. And of course, you can come in and you just not only chat with these people, but also you can get lessons, English lessons as well. So please do check out on your browser, flippinworld.com. It's currently in a collaboration with all the Oxford University, all the way from Cambridge, all the way to University of Toronto. And of course, if you want lessons too, you can always find me, because I'm actually studying linguistics right now. And if you're interested, always just follow where I am. You don't have to laugh at this, Cheryl. This is part of the procedure. Okay. All right. Moving on to that. The next question that we have is something that I think Orange05 will be very interested in. The next question is Singapore's tuition grant scheme. We know that very well, don't we? Maybe Cheryl can share a bit more what Singapore tuition grant scheme is all about.
I'm actually not too familiar with this scheme, but I kind of know why we have it. I'm actually not too familiar with the official, what.
Yeah, no problem. I can share more about that, and you let me know what you think, because this is definitely something that a lot of foreigners do struggle with when wanting to go to Singapore. So tuition grant scheme, in fact, just now I shared that me and Cheryl are currently in City Worship Project together, and one of the members that we have, he's actually a Korean studying in Singapore, and he's shared with us that he has to work in Singapore 3 years after his graduation. So over here we actually asked, why does he have to do that? The reason is because he received a sum of money from the Singapore government in order to study in Singapore. So that itself is tuition grant, and it's available to the permanent residents as well as the foreigners. And then depending on which schools you choose, which country you choose, the amount of money changes and varies. But the most important thing is the period that you have to work in a Singapore company / in Singapore also varies from 3 to 5 years. So in other words, it's just getting all talents into Singapore and Singapore companies. Yeah. So for that, what do you think about this entire scheme, Cheryl? Do you see your friends struggling with scheme?
Yeah, of course. Most of my friends, they have grants. And most of them are in medicine. I have a good friend. He's a pharmacist now. He took a grant. So basically, he was able to go through 4 years of university, and he didn't have to pay any tuition fees. But then in return, he has to work 3 years with the National University health system. So we call it being bonded to the organization. Yeah, so and I know many other people who are not just in medicine, they have grants as well. And yeah, this whole idea of working to pay back, in some sense, you have to pay back what you received from the grant, because your entire university tuition, all your university tuition fees, they were covered. So in a sense, the government wants you to pay back by working for them, and it really is, in my opinion, it is quite smart, I guess, because it keeps foreign labor in Singapore, at least for a while. Yeah, and I mean, if you do know at least a bit about Singapore, is that we don't really have any natural resources to rely on, for um, uh, y- yeah, we don't export any natural resources, so our main export is labor, and it's very, very important that we have enough in Singapore. So one of the ways is, to have foreigners work in Singapore. So we provide a lot of incentives, and we try and keep them here as long as we can. Yeah, just
Once again.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, personally, do you see a lot of foreigners living around you in Singapore?
Yeah, I do. A lot of foreigners from all over the world. It's not just in Asia. I mean, in America, people from Africa, and just a lot of people who just come here to stay to do business also sometimes. Yeah, so I've just seen a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the most common country that you see foreigners are from? For your own personal experience. I'm sure we have
My
told you.
personal experience.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen a lot of people from America. Yeah, because I used to work part time in a cafe in Singapore's. It's a business district. It's near Fullerton Hotel. If you're familiar where that is, yeah. So I, worked as a barrister, and then most of the people who came, they were foreigners, and most of them they were either Americans or they were British or Europeans, but a lot of them are from the West, yeah, and they live here, yeah.
Yeah, I think Orange just asked, what about Koreans?
Oh yeah, I've seen many Koreans as well. Yeah, who live here. Actually, the number of Koreans that I've encountered who live here, actually, they run very successful Korean restaurants.
Oh, Korean restaurants.
Yeah, it's very, very popular here in Singapore. And most Korean restaurants that are successful, they are successful because they are being run by Koreans, So the food that they sell is really, really authentic. But I've also seen many Koreans in the science and tech and like industry, yeah, I guess, or even in university. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got it. I think it's the BBQ in Korea, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and the funny thing is,
Very popular.
Yeah, we invite Cheryl as she's very insightful, deep and insightful filmmaker, and also one of our proudest secretary of New Ministry Singapore. But one of the things that she also loves to talk about is food. So there's nothing today about food, but she always brings it back to food. Very interesting. Oh, welcome, Garlic98. I remember you. Please do take a seat and you continue to enjoy the last part of our show. Actually, it's about 15 minutes left to the end of our show. Today's talk is on issues around the world, and especially in Singapore. So if you have any questions, you want to talk about and raise student issues, feel free to raise it up. You can raise it up in any language you want. I'll try my best to understand and bring to Cheryl, who's currently a filmmaker in Singapore, and then we'll talk about it together. Okay, without further ado, we're going to go to the last part of today, the next question. Very interesting question. Characteristics of Singapore men and women. This has a lot to talk about, which is why I leave 15 minutes to it. I think maybe before anything, what I want to put this question out to the audience who's listening to this. What is your impression of men and women from Singapore? I'm
very interested to know.
Very interested to know, actually, because coming out of Singapore is like everybody's just Oh, somebody said smart. Men and women are smart. Oh, interesting. Oh, maybe it's because we said smart city from the beginning, so they had the preconception already. Smart city, literally. Yeah, smart city is a different concept, by the way, but okay, smart. Anything else? What do you guys think? Pretty. Right. Maybe we'll have Cheryl tell us more. What are the characteristics? Okay, let's start with the
Thank you. Those are very nice things to say about us. From my perspective, okay, I'm a woman, so maybe I can just talk about the guys first. Singapore guys, I don't know. I think across, like in general, we do we study and we work a lot. It doesn't just apply to men and women. I don't know, general characteristics of men and women.
Orange just shared that. Another word, rich. I think don't tell me rich Asians. You were the one who talked about crazy rich Asians yesterday. No, we're not all rich.
No, we're not all rich. No, we're not all rich. If anything, the Singaporeans that crazy rich Asians portray, it's only a very, very small percentage of Singaporeans. But we are, there's no distinction between men and women for this. One characteristic of Singaporeans in general is just we're very kiasu. Kiasu is it's a Hokkien word. Kiasu means, I'll translate to Chinese first. It means 怕输. 怕输 means you're afraid to lose. So there's, and what it means essentially is that we are very, we're very anxious when it comes to, like protecting our interests. We're very afraid to do things that we think are very risky. And we'll always, let's say, in classes, if they say class starts at 8, we will be the ones who show up at 7:50. And we're just very afraid of losing out in life. That's what we generally are, and it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing sometimes. I'm not sure if there are any people from Thailand here. I recently learned that the Thai culture is very, very relaxed. This term, sabai. It means chill. And it's a very, very different culture from Singapore, and I was very, very impressed by it because the way the Thais live, it's very, very chill, very relaxed, very slow moving compared to us. We are always, on the ball. We want to do things fast. We have zero patience sometimes. We cannot wait for things. So that's just one characteristic that I thought of.
Yeah, definitely. It's something across both men and women. But I think the reason why this was raised up because our PD actually prepared some questions that are very something that a lot of people are curious about. So I think one of them was raised up by Orange. I think they, unfortunately, too, they are concerned about how well we look. And I think maybe we can bring this a bit further, not just like, are you good looking or not? Right? Okay, but before that, do you think Singapore men and women are good looking in general? Question, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Wow. We try to be good looking. We are good looking, I guess. But to be very honest and very honest about how I feel. Some of us are good looking. Yeah, some of us. But definitely not.
No, all of us are
the
good
level
looking
of Koreans.
Okay. Right before that, Luna, thank you for sharing that we are all good looking. I definitely do believe you mean it. But welcome to Branding Talk Concert. We're actually having a talk show right now. We can invite you to take a seat and also keep yourself muted till the end of the show, it ends in 10 minutes. So you can sit down first, have a cup of tea as you continue to listen to the last part of our talk and talk with us through chat instead of using your microphone, we will really appreciate that. So please take a seat. And you can type "You are really pretty" to Cheryl, to our very special guest today. Yeah. So I think it's in every country, isn't it? Like some people are pretty, some people are not. Okay, but this is a little bit just too much on the surface. But maybe one thing that maybe people want to know is like, how do you differentiate between Asians? That's the question.
Oh, wow.
Like,
That was one of the questions.
I think so. Yeah, like we're living in Korea, so like, who's Singaporean? Who?
I mean, as I mentioned, like this whole kiasu culture, you would realize that Singaporeans are the ones who are the more anxious ones, when it comes to things that they don't know. Especially if you ever see Singaporean tourists, more often than not, they first of all, they walk fast. I'm not sure if you've noticed. Yeah, we tend to walk a lot faster. We I guess we're more, we pack our schedules very tightly and we plan a lot of things. At least for my friends, when we go overseas, and we're very different as compared to other Asians, like people from Japan or people from Korea, from China, even from Southeast Asia. Like I mentioned about the Thai people. Yeah, so like it's quite easy to distinguish, not just in terms of looks and outward appearance, but in terms of behavior also. Yeah, I think Singaporeans, we definitely move like more, we definitely want to do things quicker. Yeah, and we get a lot. And when it comes to that, like incidents happening, even if it's overseas, most of the complaints you will hear from Singaporeans. I like to complain a lot. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, I want to share this too. I think this is something that maybe a lot of people will also be interested in. What do Singaporean men want in their partner? And what does the Singaporean woman want in their partner? Okay, I actually found this really interesting read. Okay, it's on this. It says this: Singaporean men want beautiful partners. Women want financial security.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, actually you're not wrong to a certain extent.
And over here it says Singaporean men and Singaporean women. What do you think? Do you think this statement is somewhat true or?
True to a certain extent, yeah, for sure. About the Singaporean man wanting, a pretty Singaporean wife, I don't think it's just applied to Singapore. I think, across the board, that's pretty the same. But for the women, in terms of financial security, I don't think that's inaccurate. I think that's true to a certain extent because that's a very, very important part of their future. They would want to be comfortable and stuff, so they would definitely want to marry someone who is at least financially stable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think over here actually it says Singaporeans are looking for potential life partners with good personal hygiene.
What?
It kind of reminds me of what you shared earlier. So Cheryl was talking about pros and cons of living of being a Singaporean and living in Singapore. So cost of living was one of the cons, but one of the pros was clean and safe, right? So do you think that it's got to be linked in some way?
For sure.
Yeah, the standard is higher. Okay. Here's another statement from this Singaporean article, by the way. Men prioritize beauty more than women, and the women prioritize financial security. So the qualities they desire tend to be physical in nature for Singapore as well. Right, then there's actually some percentage that goes on, but I don't think it's very safe to share, not knowing if there are kids around. So we'll keep that there. Got that as well. But the qualities women prioritize tend to be financial in nature. Financial status is 70%. Occupation 61%. Career. So I think we have this, right? 5 C's. Do you know what are the 5 C's in Singapore?
Yeah, the 5 C's. Cash, condo, credit. What is it the rest? Cash, condo, credit, car, And the last C.
I've heard this for the first time too. Country club membership.
Country club. Yes, country club membership. Yeah. This was a pretty long time ago.
Yeah. Are you one of them?
No, I don't think I would. If I were one of these people, I wouldn't be in the arts industry in Singapore.
That is true. Maybe. I think someone's very interested to hear our show. Yeah, thank you for expressing your excitement. We are very excited to meet you as well. All right. So you said that you don't. So okay, this is a last and could be potentially personal question. So to you as an artist, you can represent the art scene in Singapore, right? What is the kind of people that you are looking for? It doesn't have to be romantic in nature.
Wow.
Friends.
Oh yeah, friends. I think I really enjoy being friends with people who have a very creative, who are just very creative in nature. They appreciate things that are, people who appreciate art, things that are beautiful. They may not necessarily be very profitable, like making music and stuff, but I really enjoy being friends with these kind of people because I don't know, even though you might be working in a job that is not going to earn you that much money, or it's very difficult to even talk about having a stable career, but having people like this who just appreciate things that are beautiful, I think it makes life a lot more exciting to live. Yeah, so these would be kind of people that I would love to be friends with. Yeah.
Yes, alright. I think nobody asked that, but I still have my 5C, just that the last C is not country club membership, but Christian. Isn't that cool?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. Just sharing also, in Singapore we have different languages, but at the same time there are also a spread of everything as well. Not just languages to Cheryl's favorite food. Like, Janella said no. Maybe you can find your own characteristics and let us know. Maybe we know people around us. Okay. Yeah. And then this is a plethora of different kinds of cuisines, but also different kinds of religion, different kinds of culture. So it's never bored to live in Singapore. I think maybe just for a special, we've come to the end of all the questions, but for a very special end to the series of Singapore in our first season, we want to see how does Cheryl feel? How do you feel about this entire talk show? How do you feel about being a guest on this show?
Thank you very, very much. For just having me here to talk not just about Singapore, but about film and about the people and our culture. I was really happy to share, I guess, what I personally lived through for the past 25 years. It was good to just share with people of different cultures. I'm also very glad that you have such love of Singapore. Yeah, and I would also really, really like to know more about other cultures as well. So far I've heard a lot of interesting things, not just through this talk show, but just about the cultures. Not even within Asia already, I've learned so much about how we're so uniquely, and so we're all very unique and wonderful in our own different ways. And the cultures that we have a very vibrant and rich history, and I was very happy to just contribute to these discussions that we have been having.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I just want to thank my guests on this show for being the best guests ever. We've got Ryan and Cheryl together. They have been very cooperative. Usually when you invite people on, you don't just invite them on the panel and just shoot them with questions, but that's what we did. Okay. So yes, very spontaneous and very candid, which is what we want to see as we continue to find the different treasures around the world. And we want to share with you guys. All right, if you want to show some support to Cheryl, maybe we can all give the biggest hug to Cheryl for being such a great guest, and thank you so much to as well. You can show it back to them for being the best guest ever, the best audience ever as well. So next season that we have will be on Canada, and if you're interested, we've actually got a very special guest from Canada as well. She's ready and she's been waiting and anticipating to meet all of you. So the next one will be in March, and continue to stay tuned. Follow the host. You can see who's the host here. Keep updated. Stay tuned for the next one. And yes, that's the end of our show. Thank you so much, everyone. And as usual, this is your host, Winnie, and this is Youth Branding Talk Concert. Goodbye.
Thank you.
And we have our last dance time. You can all come forward now, talk and dance together. See you next time.